Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Into the Red Rabbit Hole. I'm Nighthawk. Just half of the incredible hosting you've got going on this channel right now tonight. The other half is Eric. He is patiently waiting for me to shut up and carry on the show. So that remains to be said. Let's do the old copyright disclaimer, which is this channel may use some copyrighted material without specific authorization of the owner, but contends that it falls under the fair use, which is the Copyright Act of 1976. YouTube. Okay. Nighthawk High Strange, this podcast channel, and all the podcasts on a channel, including me and Eric, claim fair use of any and all content under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, which makes allowances for fair use for the purposes such as criticism, parody, commentary, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, whatever that is, research, and let's not forget entertainment value. Under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, otherwise known herein as the fair use. And also, I use the UCut editing app for my intro and my outro, which includes videos that I actually make myself. So I have permission to use the music, YouTube. All right. That being said, I think that's everything. Not necessarily all the views on this program are necessarily that of the host. That's the other one. Okay. Just so you all know. All right. And no one's half the battle. At least that's what they say on G.I. Joe. Anyways, Eric, how are you doing, man?
Man, I done my first round of acupuncture today. I can say that was an
Woohoo!
interesting experience. Yeah.
It
I'll be
works.
doing one every
It does work.
next. I'll admit it's relieved a lot of pain in my lower back, and my hands ain't cramping up and locking up like they have been lately.
Yep, exactly. Hey, Ray, good to see you.
That's one of the things I'm trying to use to
Oh,
keep from having surgery. That's why I canceled my surgery on the 5th of February, is because I'm trying a non invasive way of relieving my
huh.
pain and this other stuff besides them going in and cutting on me.
Yeah, I had that done when I was in the military because of all the jumping and stuff and repelling. You know how you
Yep.
take a beating. So I
Oh,
had
dude,
that done a
especially when
couple
you're doing
times in the
that.
military. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hey, George.
It worked. All right. Let me get over here to the chat and say hello to a few people while we're talking about it.
Heck yeah.
All right.
Tim says like a dart gun.
Back in the days when I was in the military, a dart gun would have been safer than touching me with a needle. Trust me. Carl, good
Hey,
to see
Bounty.
you. Roxanne, thank you. Dead Wolf, thank you for being here. There's that bizarre and unknown guy. Roxanne, keep an eye on him. All right. Corey, good to see
I
you.
have to be careful. You
All
got
right.
the jumper
Ray,
monsters
good to
now.
see you in here. Yeah. Let's see. Boy, that bizarre and unknown guy's been busy in the chat. Woo.
Yeah.
Demario, good to see you. Urso, good to see you. I hope you're going to back up Roxanne with that stranger in the chat there that I've been talking about. Keep an eye on him. All right, let's
Mm-hmm.
see who else we got in here. We've got oh man, everybody. Hey Juno, my brother Juno. Lori, good to see you. Juno, we have got to get together, brother, about the Dulce, New Mexico podcast. So me, you, and
Mm-hmm.
Eric have got to get together on that. Okay, so we got to work out a time, brother. Okay. I realize there's a couple hours difference between us, but you know we'll work around your schedule if we have to, man. All right, let's see. Kathy, good to see you in here. Okay, let me see here. Who else we got? Deidre, good to see you. Okay.
I hope, Jim. I hope not too. I'll
What did
apologize,
he
guys. I
say?
was playing. He goes, I hope it wasn't a Pfizer acupuncture. I was actually, he brought that up. I was going to do a YouTube live today on some current events that came out, things to be interested in looking at. But I got
Mm-hmm.
busy and didn't get my notes done in time. So I will try this weekend to do a Rumble live on what's getting ready to happen so you guys can keep an eye out.
Yeah. Yeah. We know a
Hey,
lot's going to be happening too here pretty soon. Hey, Tim, good to see you on here.
yes.
Yeah, I'm always on here late at night on Friday nights. So Friday nights, I don't get any sleep. Let's see here.
Mm-hmm.
Who else we got in here? Bounty Hunter, good to see you. George is in the house. All right. Okay, let's see. Who
Yeah.
else we got?
There's
Man, we
there's a
got
lot of
everybody
stuff
in chat.
that William and I talked about is happening too. So it'll be a pretty good
Just
Rumble show.
it'd definitely be a good one. I guarantee it because I can cuss and do all kinds of stuff. It'll be a good one.
Mm.
Within
Yeah.
reason. I can do that stuff
Oh.
within reason to shizzle.
Uh-huh.
Good to see you guys tonight. Good to have everybody in here. David and Melissa are going to probably be a little late because they were burning that midnight oil with my brother Daniel. ECBRO Radio. If you guys aren't following him on YouTube, you might want to because if they silence me, at least he'll be able to know what I'm up to. So, because him and I are like brothers, so he's like a little brother to me. So, and his dad's like my brother. So, anyways, we are gonna. Hey, Don, good to see you. We're going to be getting into a lot of the reptilian stuff tonight. And I got a few questions too, because, I've been studying this reptilian thing for a very long time now, a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
And, thank you, Roxanne. Like, share, and subscribe, please. I've been following, doing the research and the investigating on it. I did a local investigation just south of us where reptilians were reported. Oh, DBD Warrior, thank you very much for that. That's awesome. That is awesome. Thank
Dude, you're
you.
badass.
Yeah,
Good
you are
seeing you
definitely
too.
badass. I appreciate that so much, man. That is badass. $5 super sticker. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Anyways, just south of us, I did one about a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years now. I talked to David and Melissa, who are often in the chat too, about it, about a year after I did it. So yeah, it might be even longer than that. It might be about 2.5 to 3 years ago. So, but anyways, what I found out is, that there's a lot to be said. If you go and actually go to a site that had a report of reptilians being seen by a neighbor or something, and you actually go talk to that neighbor, and they describe exactly what you've been researching to a T, and how it shifts in and out of being visible and then going back to human. It's pretty amazing if you've ever investigated it. And like I said, I've been doing this reptilian thing, well, probably for, I don't know, about 5 years now. I've been investigating it pretty solid. Okay.
Mm.
And just as much as I do Bigfoot and Dogman and everything else. And anyways, to make a long story short, just the tone of the couple's voices that I heard when they were describing what they saw, and how literally frightening of an experience they had, said volumes to me. And one thing that I've noticed when I do reptilian investigations, different from everything else that I investigate, is there is always some kind of lights in the sky, I guess you would say, associated with it days before it actually happens. Now, I don't know what connection that has to do with it, but it's always a couple days before the actual reptilians are seen. which is pretty weird. Okay, I haven't made that connection yet. I really haven't, and I'm working hard at it. Trust me. Um, but my point is, with everything, I mean, lately we have been seeing a lot of weird activity. Okay, a lot of weird activity, and yes, some of it is our own because we know that they don't disclose everything. And I know President Donald signed a bill earlier this morning for a new fighter jet for the Air Force, an F-47, I believe they called it. And ironically enough, it's triangle shaped. So, I'm just saying, hey, David. But yeah, I mean, it's amazing when you think about and John tonight on the ECBRO radio podcast with David and Melissa and Daniel. He said it. He said it best. That there's sometimes when you have encounters, you have these almost supernatural things that happen. Whether it's lights in the sky or orbs that are seen. Sometimes they're reported with red eyes and everything, and you know I firmly believe that there is a supernatural influence that is making things appear almost more violent than what they appear to be. Okay. So, hey, Dwarf, good to see you in here, brother.
Heifer's in here too now.
Oh, this Heifer, good to see you too. It just amazes me. But the same thing is accounted for the reptilians that I have researched and investigated. The sightings with them, they always say that they're within a couple days before the incidents is encountered with a reptilian, that they see lights in the sky. Okay, now I'm not saying that there is an alien or a UFO connection with these encounters. But what if there was some kind of an object, like say a Black Knight satellite, that they could be using to utilize their own technology without us knowing? Now that's just a thought. That's just a thought. Okay, that's all. That's only part of my thought process when I do these investigations. Okay, and I got a couple things tonight that I had Eric upload. And one of them's for tomorrow, which is going to be a really good podcast too tomorrow morning. Going to start out about mermaids and go from there. But we tend to, when we think about reptilians, we tend to think of them having two legs. Okay, but if you go back in time in the history, and a lot of the history of the Asian continent, you see a lot of this type of a being. And let me put this up here for you, and I'll show you. This is a statue. Okay, this is a statue of a lizard, almost snake-looking type of a thing, embracing a human. Okay, it's a disturbing statue, and it's in Oslo, Norway, I believe, is where this statue is. So this is a basically a Norse statue. Okay, now when you compare that with the legends of the Naga, okay, now here's a Naga. Okay, keep that picture there in mind of a reptilian. Here's a Naga. It's pretty much the same thing, okay, except it has a human upper torso and a snake-like or lizard-like bottom. Okay, now granted, it has no two legs, but what if, and this is just a what if, what if the legends of Quetzalcoatl and all the other ones are ultimately lizard beings? Now, the reason I say that is because this type of a reptilian entity has legendary status all around history throughout the entire world. And a flying lizard or a flying snake, it would make sense that we're describing a Naga or the Norse being that I showed you. It would make sense. A flying snake or a flying lizard. Yeah, you could do that. You could really do that. Now, if you actually, the closest depiction I could get to in finding something along the lines of what people are seeing as far as as an evolutionary status type of an improvement in a certain species, that could disguise itself as a human and be accepted as a human, would be this type. Okay, because of the features. Okay, they're not quite as dramatic and lizard looking as, in other words, if you put a latex mask over that shoulder mask, that we all know the CIA uses on a regular basis, put it over that, and you dress it in human clothing, you could pretty well get away with it. You don't have to have any fancy devices to trick people. Okay. So, but what about the ones that look like a Naga? Here's my thought. Okay. And this is why I'm talking about the subject tomorrow too, because I think this has to do a little bit, some of it has to tie together somehow. Okay. And when you're dealing with a being like this, the only way they're going to be able to traverse on land is like a snake. Okay. Now we all know the Garden of Eden story about the snake, about Satan coming in and the snake tempting Eve, and she ate the forbidden fruit and all that. Okay. But when a snake travels on land, it uses its muscles on the stomach side of it to push itself or propel itself along in a slithering manner. Okay. And a snake will sidewind back and forth like this to get momentum to move. Okay. And to go faster. Okay. Because a snake doesn't like to be out in the open for very long for fear of predators picking it off from the air. Okay. What if this type of a being was actually designed for water? What if this type of a being was somehow connected to some of the sightings of mermaids that are in the water?
Well, look at Jormungandr.
Yeah, I know.
The world serpent.
And yeah, exactly. And that's what this statue is, I believe. This statue is. Yeah, that's exactly what that is, I believe. But it would just make sense to me, because even in water, a snake is going to move the same way. It's going to want to move side to side to glide through the water. It would make sense, that this same type of a lizard being that has been seen in history would do the same thing. And, it's like everything else, that's seen around the world. Everything has been given a different name. And sometimes those names are just a repetitive name. What if the Naga are the same thing as the Norse one and as mermaids, you know? Now, I'm not saying that mermaids don't have flippers and, you know, and all that, or you know, a fan fin, you know, on a tail and all that. They probably do to help propel them in water. But what if there's more than one type? There is nothing in the biblical prophecies and stuff and the old texts that state that there's only one type of these beings. What if there's multiple types, like the branches of a tree? You know, we have multiple bear species, we have multiple canine species. Why couldn't there be multiple species in the water that we don't even know about?
Mhm. No, look how many things are said to extinct that people we're finding out every day that it's not.
Exactly. And you know, that's my point. And then I see stuff like, you know, when you talk about Quetzalcoatl and, you know, and all the other ones, and I see pictures that just blow my mind of certain people shifting on stage, and nobody's talking about it. Nobody's talking about it. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It's absolutely amazing to me, you know. Well, I'm just, and I'm just saying that, you know, why couldn't it all be like the branches of a tree? Why couldn't it be? Well, I mean, even humanity's had different branches that, you know, at a point in evolution. Okay, apparently is what the scientists say. But I mean, if we look at the bear species, we look at the canine species, look at the snake species. Just take that for example. Not only do you have your land um, snakes, but you have your water snakes. There's two right there, two differences right there. Why couldn't there be multiple species of these same beings, but yet we're grouping them all together as mermaids?
Oh yeah. Sorry, I was getting caught up on the comments here.
And that would make sense. That would make sense too if you think about it. Okay. Hi, Judy. Good to see you.
Uh-huh.
That would make sense if you actually think about it. You know, it would make sense for them to have the sacred juice. You know, it would make sense
Oh yeah.
that they would need that extra bit of energy to be on land. And
Mm-hmm.
this is all just thought process. This is, you know, this is just how my mind thinks right now when it comes to dealing with the reptilian. Okay, because I've done the investigations, I've done the research, and maybe they're not. Maybe it's just multiple branches of the same species. Just a thought. We have them with cats. We have them with canines. We have them with, you know, with snakes. With, you know, heck, we got them with dolphins. You got multiple species of dolphins. You know, I mean, it makes sense to me that instead of grouping them all together under mermaids, maybe just maybe there's multiple different types throughout the evolution process of this species. You know, maybe they started out as mermaids and then it branched out, and just over time, you know, things change. Some of them might have the whale tail on the ass end of their you know, lower half. You know, some of them might be lizard all the way up, like in the statue in Norway. You know, with the flippers and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, it's very well possible that they could still be part of the same branch of life of that species. I don't know what you guys think, but that's just what I've been thinking.
Ponder me this. Why can't there be different types of reptilians, each with their own specific way of doing things?
Right, exactly.
The shapeshifters that we see doing what they do. You know, then you got Quetzalcoatl, which is just like Jormungandr, and oh my God, I forgot the other one. I mean, there's different types of these reptilian people or reptilian beings that we hear about. Just like, you know, look at oh my God, the Ricos. You know, they're different than the reptilians.
Yeah, we even have the snake in the Lakota legends. You know, it's you know, and it had to be filled with special blessed arrows. You know, so I mean, it's
oh, I forgot her name. Yeah. The warrior had to go to the witch to get the certain arrows to take it down.
I'm drawing a blank too, so don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I'm drawing a blank.
Exactly I know what you're talking about too. And that warrior took the heart back to the village, and the heart told it what to do. And then what if he did everything that the heart told it to do? He was blessed. And then once he exposed it to the light of the people, it turned into stone.
Exactly. Here's another thing too I wanted to bring up with the adrenochrome, because those that know, they know. Okay. This is an actual picture that was taken of adrenochrome that was being processed, believe it or not. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but adrenochrome, I was always under the impression that when it's processed, it is processed out of a fear mechanism put into either a child or you know, a human, and that's when the adrenaline rush happens, and it shoots back up to the brain, and that's when they take the adrenochrome. Now, I was always told that the person has to be alive. What if the person doesn't have to be alive? What if they figured out a way of doing it from an unalived person?
Well, I mean, that's the key. Is you got to cause fear and stress and do horrible things to them to extract the type of adrenochrome that they need to do what they need to do. And then the only way to extract it is being unalived.
Right. But here's my point. Okay. Here's my point. Okay. What if the person died from a tragic accident to where he was scared, or she was scared enough to produce that, and that was still in the system? You see what I'm saying?
Part of the deal. I mean, same concept. Maybe not their traditional way of doing it, but it's the same concept. Yeah.
Yeah. My point is, maybe, just maybe, you know, all these, you know, some of these missing people, you know, that go missing around water, you know, which again, you have that connection to water, to reptilians, you know, and adrenochrome. So, you know, and this is all just, you know, just pure questions on my part. Okay. And I wanted to bring that forth tonight to everybody to see what everybody else thought. Okay.
Deidre, that has been speculated, but it has been, from my understanding, it's not as effective as the original host. But I could be wrong. But that's how I understand it. But they did try doing that at one time. But for some reason, I don't know if it's because it's not it's artificial or what, it's not near as effective as the original host.
Exactly. And these, I don't even want to call them people. But then again, calling them cryptids isn't right either. These beings, to me,
Mm-hmm.
it seems like they're trying to build up to something. They're trying to prepare for something. When you think about the amount of missing children and missing people, you know, there would have to be a vast number of these beings in our society in order for that vast number of people to be coming up missing for adrenochrome.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just my thoughts on that, because either that or they're preparing for something. They're building up their, I don't know how you would call it, a reserve stock for a later problem, maybe.
They could be. I mean, because look at the pipeline that was cut down when a certain individual got into a certain place and stopped their activities. Makes you wonder if that ain't for another reason for all these mysterious natural disasters to be happening to where they're happening, because they can no. I mean, look at the people when the supply stopped. Look how quickly people started aging.
Right.
That
Exactly.
partakes in this stuff. I mean, they aged rapidly and
Yeah.
horribly. The evil
Yeah.
that they partake is being showed on them.
Exactly. And that's just a thought, a couple,
Wow.
questions that I had and a couple thoughts that I had. Oh, okay. Thank you, man. I appreciate that, George. Thank you very much, brother. There's something to be said about this connection to the water.
Hey,
I don't know
Robin.
if anybody ever saw the return of the Dragon capsule from recovering the two astronauts in space. Okay, if you noticed, they put in the shot, what was the first thing that showed up at that Dragon capsule when those astronauts returned into the ocean? What was the first thing, even before the boats got there? It was dolphins.
Oh.
Yeah, dolphins were around that entire capsule the whole time, even after the humans got there with the boats. Okay. Now, there's some speculation how it was all AI generated and all that, and that could very well be true. I'm not disputing that. But what did I tell you guys last week about dolphins? How they're almost angelic and how they tend to protect humans. Why would something that lives in the oceans protect humans in every instance? I mean, they protect humans against sharks, they protect humans against other humans. They seem to know exactly the goodness in people.
I'm sorry, bud. I didn't mean to get you with that. Yeah.
What do and to me, it's the same principle. What if we have different types of lizard beings that live in the water, ones that are very malevolent and ones that are not malevolent, you know, ones that swim with dolphins and the ones that refuse to swim with dolphins and look at dolphins as their food. I mean, there is some kind of a there's some kind of a connection. between these Nagas, these almost serpentine-like beings, the water and dolphins and humanity. It's all connected. Now, how, I don't know yet. But we know from ancient texts, including the Bible and the Apocrypha, the book of Enoch especially talks about it, about how the mermaids were made. Well, maybe they started out as a certain type of a mermaid, and the tree eventually branched off several different, ways, just like bears and wolves and, all kinds of stuff. To me, it makes sense. So you would have possibly a land-based reptilian and a water-based reptilian.
And an air-based one. Look at all the thunderbirds that are described to being pterodactyls. I mean, a pterodactyl is a reptilian. So what do you got?
Yeah.
Land, water, air.
Yeah.
The only thing you're missing is fire.
Yeah, exactly.
And you got the 4 elements by reptilians.
Well, what's funny about that, it's funny you say that, because there is a certain part of West Virginia, Pocahontas County, I believe. So if David and Melissa are listening, we're going to have to take a drive to Pocahontas County, West Virginia, and maybe do a camp over there. I'm just saying, there has been reports of a lizard being reported there.
Hey, Dan.
So,
yeah,
just saying.
Yeah.
Now,
Dan woke up 36 minutes ago.
I'm gonna play something that a very, very well-known person talks about when it comes to describing
Robin.
certain people in Hollywood, okay, and in the industry, the music industry, the movie industry, TV, the whole 9 yards, okay. Basically, the ones that are on the boob tube all the time and the radio, basically redirecting our brain signals, if you know what I mean. Okay, kind of like the movie V. Okay. But I'm going to play this. It's a real short clip. It's about 50 seconds long, or 59, something like that. And just listen to what she says, okay? And I'll play it a couple times for you, all right, back to back. But just listen to what she says, okay?
No, they eat babies. That is not bullshit. It's true.
So it's not just the dogs and the cats, not just the pets.
It's not just the dogs and the cats. They're full-on vampires. And everybody still thinks I'm crazy, but I'm not crazy. They're full-on vampires. They love the taste of human flesh, and they drink human blood. They do, Tucker. Stop staring at me like that.
You're freaking me out, man. Because you spent your life in the entertainment business, so I think you have some authority on this.
So many kids that I was in mental institutions with over the years, they are all from those cults. And they've covered it all up. They covered it all up. And, I just pray to God. I'm just going to pray to God that he opens everybody's eyes in this country.
Dude, Roseanne is becoming my new superhero. She is so speaking out against all this shit.
Yeah, definitely. And, for her to describe them being the way they are, maybe they are just an offshoot of the reptilian race, kind of like, here, I'll put it up here so you all can see, kind of like something like this statue.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you think about it, the Aztec sacrificed the human heart and the blood. Okay. It was all about the planting season, the harvesting season, the rain season, you know, basically everything pertained to their well-being. Okay. Now, we don't really know for sure, but I've seen a lot of Aztec headdresses in my time. And that sure looks like that individual in this statue is wearing an Aztec headdress to me. And it sure looks to me like those teeth could be used for eating flesh.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. And this is just my own observations, guys, okay? So, you know, bear with me. You know, this is not something that we can solve overnight. Trust me, I've been working on this for about 5 years now. So,
yeah, either that thing has them flaps that come out like we see on some reptilian stuff, you know, like the hooded lizard. Either that's what he's got, and that's what the Aztec headdresses are representing, is something like that, or it could be wearing a headdress. I mean, either way, it's definitely interesting.
Did you see the earrings?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Look at the earrings. They sure look like the Mayan calendar, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
Or at least that design.
It does make you wonder.
Or that design of the DNA that I showed you all last week. That same design is in a lot of the chapels across ancient America and the churches and stuff.
Holy crap. I didn't even think about that till you said it, Corey. That statue looks like the Vampire Queen in Queen of the Damned. I didn't even put that together. You're absolutely correct on that.
Holy crap, yeah. And it's got, what I like about this statue is it's got green turquoise. Do you know how valuable green turquoise is? You can't find it anymore. Green turquoise is very, very hard to find. You're lucky. You're very lucky if you can find it. It's all this bright blue stuff now. But yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely Queen of the Damned, which vampire. Yeah, you're right. Absolutely right, Corey. So maybe we're not far off. Maybe we're not far off labeling a reptilian species as being a vampiric species. Maybe not only do they consume the blood, but they also consume the flesh. So, you know, and again, this is all speculation on my part. Okay. This is all just, you know, what I've observed and questions that I have too. Okay. So,
yeah. I don't. No kidding, Dan.
Is that true?
Hey, Amy.
Is that true, Dan? I'd be interested in seeing that.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about a connection to Hollywood. That would definitely be a connection to Hollywood. Yeah.
Well, yes, you know, so I've actually covered.
Yeah. And that's the thing too, though. Going back to that one before Urso's statement here, about multiple entities. Yes, and that's my whole reason for bringing up the tree. You know, what if this reptilian species is not just one typical species? Okay, what if it branched out? What if it evolved in a manner that one part of this species was land-based and drank blood and ate flesh, and the other one was water-based and ate flesh but didn't drink blood? or one water-based one had the whale tail on the end of their extremities on their lower half, and other ones didn't. They had a snake one where they would undulate through the water,
Well, I mean,
or
on
up
that
and
case,
down.
some of you look at, some of you see, they have the whale type, and others have the shark type. So having a snake type ain't out of that possibility either.
Yeah, I mean, this is all just questions as far as I'm concerned. And the chupacabra could actually be a branch of that we're talking about, honestly, because the first original account of the chupacabra sighting was a two-legged creature that had spikes coming out of its back and had fangs like a vampire and was about 4 feet tall. So it's probably not that far off. I mean, when you actually think about the similarities and you actually look at the whole scope of things, it's probably not that far off that this species could have started out as one and branched off into several different ones. But they're all technically related.
Yeah.
And again, this is just, just my thoughts, but when we have reptilians, we're going to be dealing with all different types, it's going to be all different types. It's not going to be any one type.
How did I not know this? I got to pull this up. Dan just sent it to me. Yeah.
But it would make sense if Roseanne's actually describing them as vampires. It really would.
Dan was not full of shit. As soon as I can get it to pop up. Right there it is. Freaking had a Batman mask back in them days.
Yeah, definitely worth looking into.
That's interesting.
Yeah, we'll have to look into that. Definitely. We'll definitely have to look into that. Now, we all know that I've been on a certain podcast with a brother of mine who is probably watching right now and literally listening to us. And he is of vampiric, shall I say? Well, he claims vampiric lifestyle. Okay, I don't know how to describe it. If he is a legitimate full-fledged vampire, which I'm not going to doubt because I've talked to him several times. If he is, he's probably the nicest one that anybody would want to meet. Let's put it that way.
You're welcome, Tim. Thanks for the nightmare tonight, guys.
Anyways, it's just and Tim, think about it, bro. This is how my mind works. This is how I think. Okay. This is how I rationalize things, and I separate things, and then I put it all together, and it's uncanny, that some of the connections I can make while doing this. And I just, earlier today I was thinking about it, and I started doing some more investigating into the water and to the Naga and all the other, entities. Did you know that in ancient past there was supposedly a prince that married a Naga princess? Okay. In other words, a regular human being, as far as we know, married a reptilian being. Maybe that kind of a joining of the bloodlines created, a two-legged being, you know, um, one that doesn't eat flesh, or at least, doesn't kill humans for flesh, but actually is the nicer of the two, which is basically the story of this type. Now, like I said, I'm just merely putting this out there to see what everybody thinks. Okay. Now, because we all know we've heard the tales of the good reptilians and the bad reptilians. Okay, the Dracos against the other ones. I can't remember the name that they called themselves, but it would make sense to me that something like that did happen. Now, we know that there are some branches of animal that they're part of the same tree, but they're different branches altogether. They can, intermix themselves and make a different breed altogether, like we've seen with the grizzly and the polar bear. Okay, those two have successfully been able to join their species together and create a new bear. It's been scientifically proven. They killed one in Alaska. Okay, so that's been proven. We know that there is that capability, but it has to be the same genetic tree. Okay, it doesn't necessarily have to be the same branch, but it has to be the same genetic tree, the same genetic makeup. Okay, like a wolf and a coyote, maybe, or just take the weird species out of Australia. And this is for all my Aussie brothers and sisters down there. What about the platypus? What made that? I mean, think about it. You got, damn well a beaver didn't mate with a duck and make a platypus. You know what I'm saying? Because the two species they weren't genetically compatible. Okay. It has to be genetically compatible. In other words, my reason for bringing that up is that with the mermaid species, it is compatible. It is a possibility that it has branched off like the branches of a tree. Okay. And we have our species of reptilian that's in the water, several different types, not just one, several different types. We have the species on land, several different types again. You have the flesh and blood eaters. Then you have the other ones that eat flesh, but they don't kill humans for it. They probably, get it at a grocery store, or go to a ranch or something and kill cattle, or what I'm saying? I mean, they could, ultimately they could be walking side by side to you walking into Walmart, for God's sake. How many people remember me in my early days of being on Facebook, where I'd come up and I'd do my Walmart hangout video while Tracy was in the grocery store shopping. And I'd say, oh, there goes an alien. Nope, they're not an alien. They're an alien. Nope. Or nope, there goes a reptilian, sit outside a Walmart or Home Depot or something sometime and just watch people. That's all you got to do. Sit there and just watch people for about a half an hour, and you'll see exactly what I mean. You'll see people's different mannerisms. You'll see the ones that come out of the store that seem to be always looking around to see if they're being watched, which they probably got meat shoved down their pants. But besides that, anyways, but my whole point is they could literally be walking right next to you or standing with you in line at a 7-Eleven or a Dunkin' Donuts or a Walmart, a CVS, anything. They could be pumping gas on the other side of the gas aisle next to you and you wouldn't even know. Think about the amount of disguises, the quality of disguises not only Hollywood has, but the CIA uses on a regular basis. Okay? Think about it. There is that possibility, and y'all can laugh at me all you want, but the truth is the truth. They could have genetically evolved, plain and simple, into multiple species around the entire planet. Okay, you've got stories in Japan of the turtle beings. What'd they call them? I can't remember what they called them, but they, but they have that, We've got the movies in Hollywood that are giving us clues that this possibly did happen. Think about it. Hollywood's been giving us the clues all along that this type of species has evolved into several different branches. And maybe, just maybe, one of those branches of reptilian is vampiric in design. Could be vampiric in design. Maybe that's what Roseanne Barr is talking about. And I'm going to play that video one more time, Eric, okay? And then I'm going to play the one I'm going to play tomorrow, too. But I want to show you guys something after this.
Babies, that is not bullshit. It's true.
So it's not just the dogs and the cats, not just the pets.
It's not just the dogs and the cats. They're full-on vampires. And everybody still thinks I'm crazy, but I'm not crazy. They're full-on vampires. They love the taste of human flesh and they drink human blood. They do, Tucker. Stop staring at me like that.
You're freaking me out, man. Because you spent your life in the entertainment business, so I think you have some authority on this.
So many kids that I was in mental institutions with over the years, they are all from those cults. And they've covered it all up. And, I just pray to God. I'm just going to pray to God that he opens everybody's eyes in this country.
Hey,
you got to give her credit. Got to give her credit, man, where credit's due. She's talking about it. But I'm going to play a little... Kappa. Thank you, Dan. I couldn't think of the name of it either. I'm going to play a clip. It's about 1.5 minutes. And I want to thank Tucker Carlson for that 58-second clip with Roseanne concerning the Rothschilds interview. I think that's something to be proud of. But I'm going to play a clip that I'm going to play again tomorrow, but I'm only going to play it one time. I want you all to listen to this. Okay? This is what if there was a selective process that is being used nowadays to eliminate the good of the reptilians that are in the sea or in the oceans? What if there was a process that could possibly be used by a certain family named the Rothschilds and anybody else that is part of this flesh-eating, blood-drinking, adrenochrome, guzzling whore fest? Okay,
Rothkop's are
so
vampires.
I'm gonna play this. It's gonna be about a minute and a half, and I want you guys to just listen. Okay.
He's watching in horror as all the people are like eating this and acting like it's the best thing they've ever had in their life. He said out loud, "This is some kind of joke, right?" The host says, "Once you try a bite, you'll believe that it's real." He couldn't make himself do it. He pushed away from the table. He said out loud, "You guys are nuts. This is insane. If this is what this really is, like, I don't want any part of it." Everyone at the table just kind of laughs at him. So he leaves. He's walking through the house trying to find his way out. And he ends up back around the kitchen and he hears this bubbling sound. He said it resembled like what you would hear in an aquarium or something. He could see that this one door was like slightly ajar. He pushed it open and there were tanks all in the room full of mermaids. Some of them were very aware that they were there, and then some kind of looked incoherent. He's standing there staring at them when the host walks up behind him and says, "Oh, you found the pantry." He turns around and says, "What is this? This is insane. This can't be actual mermaids, is it? Is it something that you're just like trying to make look like mermaids or something?" The host tells him, "Do you really think that I would have a mermaid party and not serve actual mermaids?" He was in shock. He just stared at the guy like, "I can't believe this is happening." And then he tells him that he was going to leave, that he didn't want any part of this. And he said, "Well, remember, you did sign an NDA and it wouldn't matter anyway because no one will ever believe you." So what do we think? Do we believe him? Let me know in the comments.
Thoughts,
Yeah.
impressions. What if there was a program out there that the elites are using, like the Rothschilds, to eliminate a certain part of their species of reptilian that actually has wanted to live side by side with humanity without having any problems? And what if they're trying to eliminate the good ones? That seemed to be the logical way to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, so Corey sent me something,
Okay.
and I want to go back to a picture real quick you shared. Oops, I went the wrong way. Remember how to work this thing. So we was talking about this here, right? And how it looked like the Queen of the Dam.
Mm-hmm.
There's the Queen of the Damned.
Damn. Huh.
Yeah.
Ain't that some shit?
You got that. And oh crap, I got out of the wrong deal. Lost my spot. So you go from that to that. Very similar.
Obviously, she probably stayed in the vampiric form a lot more than her human form. That'd be my
Well,
guess.
they're known as the king and queen of vampires. I mean, she killed her king to be with the one. So yeah, I mean, they are the oldest. They are the most ancient vampires, the most pure-blooded vampires. So they're in vampire form 100% of the time.
Are you talking Dagon?
Very similar. If you actually look at it. If you actually study the stuff and you watch what they depict on the ancient vampires, you will. Oh, did my list? No, okay. You'd be amazed how things connect.
Oh, it wouldn't amaze me at all. I know damn well things connect. It's just a matter of connecting the dots, though. And that's the thing with me. I don't give up. I keep on going.
Yeah.
Until I find the answers. And that's why I bring this up to everybody on Friday nights is, because we need to find the answers. I really do believe.
Amy. Sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was to say, yes, Amy, you're absolutely correct. Before she killed her husband, the king. Yes.
So, well, I would, then she would have to be Lilith.
Ding, 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 ding. She had a husband who could have been Dagon. Yes, you're absolutely correct, Roxanne. Interesting how that happened, especially when she was fixing to expose a lot of stuff and then mysteriously had a plane crash after the movie.
Funny how we have all the plane crashes going on today, too.
Mm-hmm.
What do you suppose happened to all those bodies?
Was it a car wreck, Boondock? I thought it was a plane crash. Could have swore it was a plane crash. I thought the car wreck was Princess Di. Now, I could be wrong. I can't remember. It was a long time ago.
No, it was a plane crash. I remember it.
Mm-hmm. That's a good question, Robin. I don't know, but it does make sense.
Yes, Zuckerberg and Ellen are definitely related to the Rothschilds. But here's the other thing. So is Obama. So are the Clintons. And so are the Cheneys. So are the Rockefellers. So are the oh man. I can't remember some of the other ones. I'll get to those names. But yeah, I mean, think about it. They're all related. Now, here's another one, and I want to thank the last clip this is gonna be the last one I'm gonna play tonight. But I want you to listen to this one. It's only about a minute long. And this is the kind of technology we're dealing with that certain powerful people are figuring out that have the capability of doing things. And well, when I saw this, it blew my mind. Okay. Because we all know that they do cloning. Okay. We all know that since the 1980s. Okay. They do cloning. We all know that there is some type of genetic mutative type of a program with the military, the Black Ops. Okay. Whether it's super soldier related or whether it's, just building up an army that can basically not die. But I found this very fascinating, and I think a lot of what this says is something completely different from Neuralink. Keep that in mind. This is something that's actually, it's not on the border of Frankenstein. It is Frankenstein.
This is going to blow your mind. A startup company called BrainBridge announced today that they believe that they will be able to successfully perform a head transplant surgery in the next 8 years. The way that this would work is you would take a person with a perfectly healthy and active brain, but their body has cancer or paralysis, and transplant it to a brain dead donor body. What's crazy is that they said that by doing this, the person that's receiving the new body would still be able to maintain their memories, cognitive abilities, and consciousness. They say that the brain could last several hundred years if it had a good working body, and that might be a potential in the future, but that this would also give people with different ailments a second chance. The procedure is advanced and way over my head, but it uses robotics and AI technology to make sure that the precisions and refusing are exact. It's crazy because you have to wonder if somebody that was 6'4" will end up 5'6", or the other way around.
I don't know, guys. Scary stuff.
Mm-hmm.
If they can do that, they can do anything.
Yeah.
Think about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I seen that clip about a month ago. I was like, damn. I was like,
Makes
no,
you
no,
think,
no.
though. I mean, they can sustain themselves like crazy if all they had to do is transplant their head on another body, and they could just keep on duplicating themselves until they don't die. And they've got the perfect human cattle. They've got the perfect human cattle to do that. So again,
I agree.
just observations. It's just observations on my part. That's it.
I think I seen this video when it was attached to the video concerning the Japanese able to take the human brain waves and transfer it into a oh my god, a cyborg body. Robot. There we go. Robot body.
I think it's just really, really amazing the kind of stuff that's going on nowadays, and we just let it happen, man. We just continue to let it happen. We really do. And not saying we have the capability of stopping it, but we have the capability of being observant enough to find it, and once we see it, speak out about it. Now, personally, coming from somebody in my physical condition, with the stuff that I've got going on, I wouldn't mind being transferred onto a 6'7" body, have my head put on it, because that'd be kind of cool, but that's just me. Yeah. The odds of that happening are going to be slim to none. That's for sure.
Hey, Larry.
Well, they say that. See, this is the thing. This is the thing with it, Amy. They say that you don't lose your consciousness, but how can they guarantee that? How can they guarantee that? Think about it. They must have already done it.
Yeah. Small little hints like that really makes the world go round.
Yep.
The thing is people don't realize they have, due to natural law, they have to tell people what they are doing, but they do it in a way that a normal person will not catch on their subtle hints. And oh, Larry, you're badass. Larry gifted 5 Nighthawk Strangers podcast members. Congratulations to Bigfoot Dwarf, A Little Twisted, Flat Rock, Tales from the Dark Side, and Ryan Tremblay for being getting memberships from Larry.
Awesome. Thank you, Larry. That means a lot, brother. That means a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really something when you think about it, because if you think about the dominance of species, it's not really the overwhelming numbers that survive. It's the strong, it's the prepared ones that survive. And when you look even throughout history, we always, and Eric, we both have said it too before, that it's the same old Roman army, the same old Colosseum sports, to distract humanity from what's really happening, and that's exactly what this reptilian race is doing. Exactly. But the one thing that I figured out is that there is more than just a couple different races. I believe full-heartedly that these things started with the Book of Enoch, from God punishing the daughters of man, turning them into these basically these beasts of the water, the mermaids, okay, which is kind of like looking like this one, you know. So, you know, taking a beautiful being, woman, and transforming her into a creature of the sea. I think that with that original part of it, that's when the genetic tree was planted. The seed for that tree was planted, and that seed has developed into a tree, and that it has multiple branches. Okay, like I said, multiple water branches of reptilian species, which could be the mermaids, the naga, and several other different ones. Okay, and land based, which could include the vampiric type, like we showed. Swear to God, that thing looks like a vampire. There's no other way to describe that thing. It could be a vampiric lizard. To me, that could be a vampiric lizard.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't, you know, I might not be that far off on what I'm thinking. You know what I mean? I really, and if you think about it, it's actually quite disturbing if you think about it, because we don't know how many types there are, literally, and we don't know what their capabilities are, literally. And when I mean capabilities, I'm not just talking technology. I'm not just talking technology. I'm talking supernatural abilities, mind, you know, manipulation, you know, being able to make themselves possibly invisible. Yeah, I said it, invisible. Okay, it's not far off.
Larry did it again.
Thank you, Larry.
Congratulations
it's not far off
to.
to think that they could. It's not far off to think that they could have that ability right there,
Mhm.
which is, you know, a cloaking ability that they could have. Think about it. You know, I mean, it's anything's possible when you're dealing with multiple species.
Yep. Congratulations to Ozzy Sue, Poncho, Bryce Edwards, Deb D, and Lolo for the memberships gifted by Larry.
Thank you again, Larry.
Heck yeah, man. You're awesome, dude.
I'm gonna have to make Larry executive producer.
No kidding.
I think I am. I think I'm going to make him executive producer of Friday nights. Larry, you just got the title.
I'm kind of interested in what you're talking about here, Lee. Larry strikes again. 10 more this time. 10 more.
Oh,
congratulations to Wood Rider, West Coast Dogman Project, Melissa, Avina, Barry, Neil, Angelique, Ellie, Camille, and James for being gifted the memberships. Thank you so much, Larry. You're a rock star tonight.
Yes, you are, man. You're definitely the executive producer. Think about it, though.
Yeah. I mean, I can't say Bigfoot doesn't cloak. I'm not a believer that Bigfoot cloaks. I'm a believer they do adaptive camouflage. But yes, a lot of things that do cloak, I agree. It looks like water, much like the Predator in the Predator movies with his cloaking, which we've covered this before. And I've even covered it on Jessica's show too.
Exactly.
About that. But I've seen too many videos of Bigfoot walking and they stop and they just disappear. It's not cloaking, it's adaptive camouflage. And that's kind of where I lean on that. I mean, people believe how they want. Me personally, that's where I am. But I was talking about rebuking them because I have families of Bigfoot that live around me, and I've never had a bad encounter with them. So that's why I was kind of interested when you were saying rebuke them. What you meant by that? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, just like they think they can go through portals, which if you listen to a lot of them Native American tales, it's the medicine men of the Bigfoot tribe that can go in and out of portals because you got to have the right frequency and the knowledge how to use that portal. If you don't, then you become unalived. No Joe Blow of any type. Huh?
Yeah, that goes without saying too, because I've dealt with the subject of Bigfoot, Big Brother, for a long time now, my whole life, 60 years plus. So and I'm not I don't even come close to claiming I'm an expert, but with my Native American heritage and my blood, and growing up with the legends and stuff. I feel like I've made more of a connection than most, and I keep most of it to myself, to tell you the truth. Because I'm not one to, I don't want to disclose some of the stuff that I know, because I know that some of it's going to probably end up hurting them in the long run. And they are literally a forest people. They are a lost tribe. And yes, there's different types from different parts of the country. Alaskan ones are different from, Maine and Ontario, Pennsylvania, New York, along the Appalachian Trail. They're different from Alaska and Pacific Northwest ones that are seen. And just as much as the ones in the swamps in Louisiana and Arkansas and Texas and Florida, Mississippi, and all that, and Alabama, those are different from the ones in the Appalachian Trail. So, there's one thing that we found as Native people is that when you have a species, whether it's even a human or an animal, well, humans are technically animals, but
yeah, we are.
Whatever the species is, if it's in one certain area, it's going to adapt to the environment. It's going to change its eating habits to the environment. It's going to change its living habits to the environment. Okay. And that's what we're seeing with a lot of these cryptids is we're seeing an adaptation. We're seeing, and sometimes it is a mutation because of inbreeding and stuff like that. But at the same time, it's also evolution. Okay. It's also taking and I'm not a big proponent for evolution in humanity because I think the DNA was messed with anyways. But, when you talk about certain species, it's like the monkeys that live in Japan and swim in the water. They jump off the trees and jump into the water. And they swim. They love the water. There's no other species of monkey in the world that spends 90% of its time in the water. Just these monkeys in Japan. Okay. You don't see the monkeys in in South America doing that. Well, of course, that's because
Yes, Corey, exactly.
they've got crocodiles in the Amazon, and they've got big ass snakes in the Amazon. Okay. So naturally, it's the monkey there has adapted to the environment. Okay. The same thing can happen with any species on the planet, any species, including humanity. So,
Corey.
and here's a perfect example. Here's a perfect example of it. You know, Corey, you can back me up on this. I know you will. Take the medicine men. There's some of our cultures out there, indigenous cultures out there, where the medicine men take off for 5-10 years in the middle of the woods and nowhere, nobody around and everything, and they'll come back looking big and hairy, just like Bigfoot. Not as tall, but because they're adapting to the environment. They're adapting to Mother Earth. They're learning from her, and they're gaining their spiritual powers for their people. Okay. And then they come back to the people 5-10 years later, and the people have their medicine man. Okay. Things will adapt. Okay. Things will always adapt to environment. Plain and simple. So that's just my thought. So
I'm kind of curious where Lee's getting her information from. This is stuff I've never heard of that she's talking about. I've never, in all my research, all my studies,
put it up on the
all my
screen.
investigations, I have been, but I've never heard anything like what she's talking about. So I'm kind of curious where you're getting your information from. She's talking about how they're all earlier saying that the Jews were going to set them loose and they're mixed with spider DNA and stuff. I'm curious where you're getting your info from. Outside NIC, the 5. Yeah, I mean, you can watch my YouTube videos on my show. I've got families of Bigfoot that live out here. I deal with them all. I've just done a release of the vocalizations I caught the other day, and I've never came across.
Well, there's gigantism in every species. There's gigantism in every species. That's been proven. Okay. 100%. So a 5-foot spider is not that unreal. They have them in the Congo, in Africa. Mm-hmm. They're very well known for their spider species down there, the giant ones. So, and there's been reports of them in the Nahanni Valley, so,
yeah. Well, I mean,
it's not unheard of, but I've never heard of the connection to the DNA and all that. So I'm kind of curious about that too.
Yeah. I mean, I know of reports of them spider walking. I've heard several reports of them spider walking. It's just, hey, woo, just never heard of them having spider DNA mixed with them and them eating the juices of the humans like the spiders do. That's new on me. That's actually the first time I've ever heard that.
Yeah, that's new on me too. Yeah. Yeah, that's new on me too.
Huh. Yeah, a lot of stuff I've heard, a lot of stuff you're talking about, but all offsprings from these spiders, that's just new on me. I mean, we know several of these insectoid, can't talk today. God bless America, I can't say the damn word. Insect-like beings that live underground and stuff like that come to the surface from time to time, but I never knew they were like that. Woo? What do you mean, bro? Woo said, I passed away and came back to the living. Glad to be back. What are you talking about, bro? Man, is William and I going to have to come down there and get on to you? Um, yeah. Oh, sorry. Just the chat's jumping and I hit the wrong one. I've seen a grasshopper-like being in Hawaii. That may have been where I was thinking of her. So I was trying to remember. I know I've heard of one before. Or the combination of Bigfoot, dogman, shark, lizards, etc. Dude, what happened? Bro. What happened, Woo? That's not cool, man.
Yeah, you got to enlighten us there, Woo. You got to enlighten us.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, we're glad you're okay, Woo. What's going on, man?
No shit, dude. That's why we haven't seen you in a while. Holy crap, man. Well, dude, I'm glad you're back, bro. Wow. That's horrible, man. God, dude. Are you back home and back to your normal self, or are you still recovering, man? Yeah, staph is brutal. My brothers had it. They literally had to go in, cut him open, and take like a spoon and what they call debriding and scrape all that stuff out of his back, and it left like a big old gaping wound. It was nasty. But
Hmm.
oh God, man. Well, you know we're always here for you, man. You know that. I mean, you're one of our OGs. You know, we got a lot of love for you. So I mean, if we can do anything to help you, we'll do our damnedest to do it.
Yeah, they've got the Otter Man stories, Corey. That's for sure.
Mm. George, good night, bud.
But I believe, yeah, George. Good night. I believe that that the Otter Man stories are probably for the lost tribes, the forest tribes. I believe that they are some kind of medicine person for the tribes. That's what I believe. Only because of what I hear. The only way you can trap the Otter Man is by utilizing the four elements in a circle, and securing it with you know a sacred herb or something to seal it. That's the only way you can trap them, and then the trap only works for a temporary period of time. You need to have something to hold them in. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, you have to utilize the four elements. So that tells me right there that it is more of a spiritual medicine man type of a being for a certain, whether it's Bigfoot or whether it's Dog Man. I'm not too sure yet, but it's some kind of a medicine person, because medicine people, we know how to utilize those four elements very, very effectively, very effectively. So
Hey, Jason. And that's the
hey,
thing.
Jason,
Like,
good to see you.
when I went down to do that initial investigation of that werewolf sighting, and I got ran out of the woods. I was like, man, I've got to get me some stronger medicine when I go back down there, because whatever was there was something ancient and evil. And when you deal
Hmm.
with things that are ancient and evil, You need strong medicine to help keep you safe. If you don't, man, I mean, that's why I ran out like I did, because I knew something bad was going to happen.
Right. And what have I always told everybody from day one? Don't go out in the woods and bang a stick or a branch on the side of a tree.
Mhm.
That's not how you call them in. That's how you call forth the spirit, the elemental of the tree. Okay, it's an old druid trick, and it's an old Native American trick too, that the medicine healers used to use. Okay, when we used to have to go and get advice from the elementals, the medicine people would go out, the medicine men and women would go out by themselves and do that to bring forth and communicate with the elementals. Okay, we did the same thing, and the druids did the same thing. Okay, so everybody, y'all need to chill with the old beating on the side of a tree, because if you don't know what you're doing with that type of an approach to a cryptid, especially a Bigfoot, you're going to end up pissing off the elemental, and that's going to be worse than anything you could ever imagine. Okay, the whole basis of spirituality and Native American belief is that everything has spirit. Okay, everything has an energy, a life force. Okay, but a lot of these spirits or these energies existed a very, very long time, an ancient amount of time. Okay, so when you're out there, and you can think that it's perfectly normal to do that, okay, by hitting and making a wood knock or whatever you want to call it, but I guarantee you, if you don't heed the warning and you do it enough, you're going to piss off some elementals that are very, very ancient, and you're going to bring forth something that you haven't experienced before. Weird shit's going to happen. Okay, sicknesses are going to happen. Injuries are going to happen. And God forbid, unalives are possibly even going to happen. Okay, this is why I always say you have to walk the walk with reverence for everything. You have to respect everything. Okay, just as much as I believe in Jesus Christ and and Yeshua, you know just as much as I do that, I have my indigenous culture that I grew up in. Okay, the good and the bad. All right, and you have to embrace that, and you have to respect it. Just because you have another belief doesn't mean you can't show respect to something else, even though you don't believe in it. Okay, because just trust me, you don't want to piss an elemental off. Liken them unto a fallen angel. Okay, if you want to liken them to that.
Urso brings up a very good point here. All things have spirits and souls. All things are living, even the rock. Bounty's right, even with the rocks. They all have a spirit, a soul, and a voice. So people don't think about that when they go out in the woods. All of these things are living.
Urso and Bounty also, they can back me up on this too, I'm sure. But humans are related to the pinyon pine. We have the pinyon pine DNA within our body. Okay, so we are literally related to a tree. How many people know that? So makes you wonder.
I'll check it out here in a minute. Lee had a question earlier. I've never known them to change back, but she asked, why are trees able to turn black and then back to tan? I mean, every time I've ever seen it for me, it's when they went black was because they were burnt. They never turned back. They're still here. Have you ever heard of that where they turn black and then back to tan?
I've heard of stories of when an elemental shifts from one location to another, that a tree will turn black and start to die, and another tree will be kind of like rejuvenated or young, or younger, because of that elemental transferring itself from one tree to another. So, that is possible. But have I seen it myself? No, I haven't.
Ew. That's nasty, Woo. Ugh.
Yeah, Roxanne's right. Roxanne, you're right. Very true.
Wow, that
Everything
was
is
weird.
connected.
I was booted out of StreamYard. I had to get back in.
Thank you, Freaky, for answering that. I appreciate that. Elementals are how do I want to say this? Elementals have always been part of Mother Earth. Okay, part of Makawakan, Sacred Mother Earth. Elementals are in there. It's like in the old days when we call something rock medicine or tree medicine or water medicine. Elementals are in everything. Okay. The elemental spirit is an energy that Mother Earth exhibits and nurtures, and it grows from her spirit. Okay. In other words, it's kind of like the Gaia principle that, the earth is alive, okay, and a living entity. And as such, the earth is such a powerful entity that it lives forever, okay? And on it are beings that existed since the creation of Mother Earth, okay? And that's kind of what the elementals are. They are in everything. That's why when Native Americans go to the edge of water, we lay down tobacco on the water to say thank you to the spirits of the water for giving us water, for cooling us off, and for nourishment, and to walk across safely, without a problem. A lot of the indigenous people also felt and believed that if we offered tobacco to the water, that we were purposely asking whatever beings are of that water would give us safety across the water. Okay. And we would do it every time we'd come to water. The Algonquin people and even the Seneca people up in New York, they used to do it all the time when they crossed Lake Erie, to go to Canada. they'd offer tobacco to the water, and they wouldn't just do it at the water's edge. They'd do it, periodically throughout the entire thing. And even sometimes they would do it and do like a drum ceremony or a chant too when they're out in the middle of the lake. It's just a way to say thank you, and we respect you, and we hope that you allow us free, safe passage. So that's all. But everything that we do as Native people, we do out of respect, out of showing respect and appreciating these other beings, living amongst us. And some people may say, "Oh, well, you're putting forth false idols and gods and stuff before God," and that's not that at all. We don't worship them. We just say thank you to them for being there and protecting us, just like guardian angels. Just like guardian angels. That's all they are. So it's just that they're older than humanity. They know a lot more than humanity. So elementals are called upon in a lot of indigenous cultures. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah. And Lee, I know the guys answered the question or in there already, but the one that I do know that smokes the tobacco when you offer it is the Fae. Fae have been known to take the tobacco and smoke it.
Well, little
As far
people
as
too.
elementals, yeah, little people too. As far as elementals, the other guys pretty much covered it. They bury it, they burn it, they can smell it, and all that. But your Fae and your little people will take it and smoke it.
Yep. Exactly, Urso. Exactly.
Mm-hmm. And that's like when I did that initial investigation, I knew I had to put some tobacco down because I felt it. And you can always tell when a place is the proper place to put a tobacco offering. It tells you that. And you'll see that in the videos. Like, I know I need to place tobacco, and I know this is where I need to, because you feel it in your soul, your body, your energy, whatever it is you want to describe it. It calls out to you, and it tells you this is where you need to make this offering. And that's where you do it at, because that's where it's going to be the most effective. That is where your elementals are, or your Fae, or your little people, whatever the situation, whoever's there, that's where they're at, is in that place. So keep that in mind as well. That's always been a good practice for me. Sorry, I was looking for my Batman.
Well, we're going to have to be cutting this short right now. It's already going on 1 a.m. here. So, we got a show to do tomorrow. So we can continue this tomorrow, because we're going to be discussing mermaids tomorrow anyways, and other weird things. So we can continue this tomorrow, everybody. So, Sunday, I'm going to see about possibly getting somebody to come on with us. And Sundays, we're going to talk about Bigfoot. We're gonna discover everything about Bigfoot, okay? Except some of the stuff that I hold sacred. All right. So that's going to be our Sunday show at 11 a.m. So until then, we'll be on 11 a.m. tomorrow. Might be a couple minutes late, because I may have to go and take care of some groceries or whatnot. But other than that, that's what we got going on. I'm also going to be putting out another video for the members only channel about Wait Until Dark. And I hope everybody that's the member got a chance to watch that, because we're going to be putting together the second one. And we're going to get into a lot of this, well, let's just say a lot of the stuff that people have questions about. Okay. So we will also, if you can, we have a bonfire store. Okay. It's bonfire facebook.com/into the red rabbit hole. And we have t-shirts, coffee mugs, and stuff like that there. So have at it, knock yourselves out. They are good quality shirts. Eric has one. I've got some, and they're very good quality. They don't fall apart on you. So, what else? Let's see. Oh, and to answer David and Melissa's and Daniel's concern earlier today about me writing the book, I'm trying. Okay, there's some things that I don't want to put in the book because I don't want to disclose certain things that I hold sacred. But I'm going to be doing the book, so it's already on third chapter right now. So, but that's what I got right there. Eric, what do you got going on this weekend?
So I'll have campfire chats with Eric and guests tomorrow. I don't know what Sunday's show is about. I have been busier than a freaking hiccup this week at work. I take a couple days off. I come back and I'm swamped. Plus, we got 2 major projects that our boss is wanting us to get done before April. So I have not had time to think of anything. So I'm still trying to figure that out. So closer, probably tomorrow or Sunday morning, I'll know what my Sunday show is going to be about. Yeah, Corey, I seen it. I'm sorry, brain fart. I did finish Beast of the Ozarks first kill. My iHenyar readers, as soon as they're done going over it, and I make any kind of adjustments that need to be made, I will get that out to my editor to get the final edit done, and then that will be released. I did start working on Saga Grimson Book 3, Revenge of the Wendigo today, so I picked back up on that. I have released a new sci-fi short story on my Patreon. Both the iHenyar and the Asgardian can have access to my sci-fi short stories that I've been reading. You take it easy, Jason. So if you're a member on my Patreon, every Friday I'm trying to release a sci-fi short story. I may change it up and do some other short stories too. But yeah, I'm trying to get that done and out to everybody. So that's kind of one of the benefits of being on the Patreon. So yeah, man, I've got a lot going on. I was going to try to go camping this weekend because I wanted to do some Bigfoot and Dogman investigations down around Table Rock Lake, but finances and my old ass don't handle the cold weather, sleeping at night like I used to. So that kind of got nixed. I'll have to try to do that another weekend. But soon I will be start doing lives out in the woods. So I'll be gone on the weekends. I can probably, as long as I can get my Wi-Fi to work, I can still come on and do lives with William in the morning. In the evenings, instead of actually doing campfire chats, it'll probably most likely be me being out in the woods and investigating this stuff. So that's what I'm working on. I'm trying to get all that in the works right now.
Cool. You got any plans on getting new equipment?
Well, I got my NVGs formatted, and this is going to be one I think is going to be a real nice game changer because this one records and takes pictures. And I've tested it out just a little bit, and I was able to pick up the details of a rabbit at 60 yards. But I've got my NVGs. I finally got them in. I mean, talk about crystal freaking clear. And they adjust and zoom. So I've got to take them out for another trial run here soon. If I can get a clear night, I'll do some recording of all the little white orbs that fly around in our space that dart everywhere that I see all the time out here. And I'll put that on my YouTube and my Patreon. And but yeah, so I mean, I've got that in. My REM pod finally came in, so I have a REM pod now. That's some stuff I've been waiting on, but they're finally in. I haven't put the REM pod together and tested it yet, but I've got it boxed up. I'm trying to keep it from getting damaged, so I plan on taking it out of the box whenever I need to use it, and then I'll break it back down, put it back in the box to help keep it. So that's just some of the latest equipment that I finally got in. But the MAVGs, I think, is going to be a game changer, along with my thermal and everything else.
Oh, that's cool. I just, unfortunately, I just heard the sound that a rattlesnake would make.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
You got one in your house?
No. No, I don't think there's an actual snake in here. I think it's something else.
Thanks, Judy. Yeah, busier than hiccup. That's a term used here a lot, Lee. Busier than a groundhog. Yeah, Jason. Yeah, I'd have a lot of orbs I deal with. Normally, orbs for me is dealing with UFOs, paranormal, or supernatural.
Well, everybody, thank you for being here tonight. And we will catch everybody in the morning. Okay. And until then, question everything. You have that right. And peace, love, and blessings, everybody. And we'll see you in the morning.
Heck yeah. Peace, love, and blessings, everyone. Hey, Ozzy Sue. Oh, you came in the last seconds. Good to see you, sweetie.
Aw. Good to see you, Ozzy Sue.